let's draw some leaf shapes. Here's something I found on the internet showing some leaf shapes and some designs for the edges. The edge of a leaf is called the margin, and this shows you it can be very, very smooth or very, very jagged. Sometimes these have looks like a sawtooth. Sometimes the lobes are wavy. All the different ways the edge can look. And then the way the veins can look in the middle. And those are like the three basic kind of shape features of a leaf. Now the final project is going to look something like this. We're going to divide the paper into 16 parts and put a leaf in each one. So the first thing you need to do is fold your paper this way and then this way again. And then turn this way and do the same thing. Fold and fold it again. You don't have to press down real hard. It's just to kind of so you can see where the squares are. Okay, now we're ready to start with our first leaf. Let's start with a triangle shape. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit here on this one. Now, scientists like to give fancy names to simple things, and instead of calling it triangle, they name it after the Greek letter D, delta, which looks like this. That's the Greek letter delta. So we're going to call this leaf deltoid, and it's basically going to be draw a really, really light triangle shape. Now, that doesn't look a lot like a leaf quite yet. That's the basic shape it's going to be. Now, we need to make it a little more gracious. We can make this smooth like this. You can smooth out the corners a little bit, and I'm going to make it a little bit. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay. More imagining how a leaf might look, kind of with a edge like that. Now down here at the bottom, this is the petiole or petiole. Looks a little bit more like a leaf, maybe a little more like a tree, but you'll find leaves like this. If you go out and look for them, you'll find some. A deltoid shape. And now we need to make some veins. I'm going to make the veins look like this. Going off that way and going off that way. Now it looks more like a leaf, doesn't it? Okay, and then we're going to label this D-E-L-T-O-I-D, deltoid. So some leaves have this triangular deltoid shape. Let's go to another one. Some leaves have a heart shape. Now, can you draw an upside down heart like this? It's a very common leaf shape. Draw really lightly, try to sketch out an upside down heart. And the stem's going to come out down there. Now this one I'm going to make smooth. Draw that part there, the petiole. This is where it attaches to the branch, right? And when the leaves fall off the tree in the autumn, on the deciduous plants, that's where it falls off, right there. And I'm going to make this one smooth, and it doesn't have to be perfectly heart-shaped. Yours could be a little bit longer up here, pointier, or a little bit flatter, as long as it's generally heart-shaped. Yours maybe it wouldn't have such a deep thing could go like that and it would still be considered to be heart-shaped. So if it looks like a heart at all, it's called chordate, and that means heart-shaped. Chord is Greek for heart. Like we have cardiac, the word cardiac comes from that. Okay, and then I'll put some veins in here. Right, the veins are kind of, well, they're like our veins. They have to take all the nourishment to the cells in the leaf. And this kind of continues right up. This is actually continuation of this. This is like part of the vein that comes in. We can maybe on this one go back and make it actually look like it goes like that. Okay, so that's chordate. Some leaves have the opposite way. They're opposite chordate, obchordate. Now you can draw a regular heart shaped like this, and the stem's going to come off like this, and this is going to be ob, or it could be op, like in our word opposite. Ob means against or opposite, so this is the other way, obchordate. So you see when you break the words down, they're not too hard. That kind of means opposite, the other way, heart shape, obchordate. So I don't know how they to draw the veins in this. Let's see. We'd know we'd need a vein going over to here and over to here, wouldn't we? And then maybe some branching off like that. Let's see, in this one you can make it smooth, or you can give it some texture. Okay, now let's do another really easy one. This is going to be an oval, ovate, and this comes from ove, meaning egg, so it's kind of egg-shaped. So we get our word oval. So it's just an oval. And on this one, I'm going to make it an edge called undulate. I'm going to make this go like gentle waves around like this. Ooh. There. It's called an undulating edge. Okay, we're going to make this vein go up like this. And this one I'm going to make a few branches off. I'm going to make one go off here like a, and then some sub branches go off like that. Okay, so even though this has a kind of wavy edge, still the shape is basically oval, so it's ovate. Let's go down here to this one and make a diamond shape. Really, really lightly. Make a little diamond. And down here is where you'll have a petiole. And I'm going to make the edge on this one look kind of spiky, spiny edge. I'm going to make it come out like this. Kind of reminds me of like a holly leaf. If you've ever seen a holly leaf, they have like little spines. And the name for this shape, they call it diamond. Don't have to learn anything fancy for that one. Okay, bring it up here and have some veins going off so all the cells get nourished. Here we go. We can even make this one kind of look a little bit 3D. We shade just a little bit. Kind of looks like the leaf is folded. There. Let's make one that's long and thin, like a line. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to use the whole section there. Now, this isn't the same as a blade of grass. This would be like on a willow tree, maybe. It'll be a long vein going like this. This is like a line, so they call it linear. And you have to have little tiny little veins going off like that. Or if you want to make a blade of grass would have veins that all go the same way, like this. So that's a linear shape. How about a circle? We haven't done a circle yet, have we? But they have to call it, they can't call it a circle. They call it an orb. An orb is another word for a circle. So this is going to be orb, orbicular. And it's just going to be a circle with a stem coming off. And let's see, let's do an edge like this. There's a special word for it, chordate, but you don't have to remember that. Just blink, blink like that, like you're making it look like a cloud or something. Okay. Make the veins go up and out. Now, if you were drawing a real leaf, you'd really want to study the veins. If this was a particular species, you'd really want to make sure you got it right so you could identify the species, because every leaf's a little bit different. But that'll be just fine for our cartoon leaf. And then we're going to draw another circular one, but this time it's going to be like an umbrella where the stem goes right to the middle like this. It doesn't come off the bottom. If my hand is the leaf, most of them will go like that. This is going to go like that. It's going to come off the middle, okay? So draw our circle and then make the petiole joining right at the center there. So maybe even it would have a shadow off of this. You see that? Okay, and I'm just going to make this simple. Not going to do anything tricky with the edges. But the veins in this leaf are going to go like this. It really is like an umbrella. It's like these are like the little metal things that branch out. A nasturtium, if you've ever grown a flowering plant called a nasturtium, they have these kinds of leaves. Okay, and if you want to know the fancy word for this, it's called peltate. Now that's a truly different leaf, isn't it? That's not going to be like any of the others we draw. Once again, maybe if you can make like a shadow under here to kind of make it look like it's sticking out like this, right? It's coming out from the leaf. It's not sticking off the bottom like this one. It's actually coming out the middle. Okay. Let's go to the bottom of our page here. How about a leaf that has 3 circles? Now, I'm sure you can think of a leaf that looks like this. What kind of thing that's maybe of a clover or something? Okay. And then we'll make the veins going out like this. Now the name for this shape is tri for 3, and then foli, meaning leaf, and then that 8 ending again. Trifoliate just means 3 little leaves. And then how about one that's kind of oval, circular sort of shape? Well, it's kind of like a jelly bean shape. It's kind of like a a circle that's got a little dent in it, sort of. Kind of got a little smushed or something. It's gonna be like that. Okay. Now, to a scientist, they see something like that and they don't say, oh, it's a jelly bean. They say, oh, it looks like a kidney, because they're scientists and they study plants and animals. So, we'll make, this is kind of cool, the veins are going to go like the blood vessels into the kidney or something. But it's not a kidney, it's a leaf. But just reminds scientists of the kidney shape. Okay, so instead of calling it the echidna leaf or something like that, we have to use the Greek and Latin roots, and the root we use is reni. And when you see that, renal or reni, it usually means something to do with the kidney. So this is reniform, in the form of a kidney. That's kind of neat, but you didn't know there was kidney-shaped leaves out there. So now it gives you something to be on the lookout for. I'm going to make mine look even a little more like a leaf. Kind of go in like this. I think a leaf would kind of have a nice graceful curve to it. Okay. Reniform. Now let's do a shape that reminds people of a weapon, a spear tip. What does a spear tip look like? Well, here's my spear tip is going to look like this. Pointy and sharp at the end. This would be maybe like something from the ancient past. You might see like a simple stone or iron spear point or something. Okay, so it's got the sharp pointy part, the PTO down here, and I'm going to put a serrated edge on here. This is called serrated. If you have a bread knife that has little tiny sharp bumps on it, it would be called a serrated knife. And it's just little teeny tiny little points like that. Very small, sometimes not really very noticeable. If you look at the leaf, some leaves you have to look really closely to see these little edges. I'll write that here, serrated edge. You run into that word a lot in botany. Okay, let's put on our veins. So it looks like a leaf, not a spear point. Okay, and that one they call the lanceolate. So it looks like the tip of a lance. Like in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, they carried lances, which are long poles with this kind of point on the end. So that's the lanceolate. All right, another spear point. This is kind of a cool shape to draw. Would be I'm going to draw it this way. Point like this. You do a point like that, and then kind of bring it down on the sides like this, and then kind of make a little curvy. It's almost like an S-shaped curve, isn't it? Down here. And this shape, make the top really pointed there. is called hastate. And the hasta part means the shape of a spear tip. And let's see, we got to make a vein going here, and a vein going to each part of the leaf, and then some side veins going off of those. Hastate. The word hosta, if you have a plant called a hosta, that's the same root word. Okay, now this is a kitchen weapon. What's a weapon used in the kitchen a lot? A spatula. If you want to scrape a bowl or stir something, the end of a spatula kind of looks like this. Right? It's sort of like it's an oval, but it comes more to a point. It's more like a kind of a raindrop sort of shape. Is that like a spatula? And you can make it get really skinny down at the bottom there. So they call it spatulate. Spatulate. We'll put some veins in it to nourish all the little cells. Okay, we've only got 3 left, and they're going to be lobed. This one's going to be called palmate because it looks like, well, zoom out a little bit, palm of your hand. It's going to have a central area with some things going out, so they call it palmate. It reminds you of when you look at your palm. So the center, it's going to have, this will be the palm area, really light. And then it's going to have sort of like fingers, but not really, going off. Kind of like a leafy hand. And it's going to look the same on both sides. Some of them don't. Some of them are, there's one leaf, I'll draw on here, on the sassafras tree where some of them look like mittens. And they're still palmate, but they're not symmetric. But this one's going to be symmetric. And we can erase our guidelines now if we want to. And each one of these needs to have a vein that goes to it to nourish all those little plant cells. Some little side veins going off. Okay, and this is called palmate. Palmate. Now, it doesn't really look like fingers. I mean, it kind of reminds you of your hand, your palm. Leaves that really remind you of fingers are digitate. Digitate. And digit, we use it a lot of times in math, but in science, a digit can be a finger, a toe, something that's sticking off, like that. So this one is going to be, let's see how many fingers, long fingers on this leaf. Long fingers because it's digitate. Right, every one of these, if you want to draw in really lightly, have a vein. Draw real lightly though. Digitate. And the last one, this is probably maybe some people's favorite leaf because it's going to look like an oak leaf. It's just called lobed. A lobe is a big kind of bumpy, smooth thing. So it's going to have like lots of big smooth bumps. Now I'm going to kind of draw where my vein's going to go first. And I'm going to start out making a top lobe. Like this. Big, fun, lobey things like that. Now, can I do it on the other side? Do exactly what I did there. Ooh, on the other side. There. Ends up looking kind of like an oak leaf. And then it needs a little vein out to each little section. Okay, and that is a very, very common leaf shape, lobed.